Graveyards after midnight have a way of changing a person, but I didn't understand that until I stood among the tilting stones of Coldwater Cemetery, the air thick with fog, and the world eerily silent. I went there to collect stories, 10 true encounters that old caretakers, night guards, and locals swore happened to them. But what I didn't realize was that gathering these stories would pull me into something far darker than folklore. By the time the last encounter happened, I wasn't sure if I was the storyteller or the next victim. It began with my research for a documentary. I wanted real accounts, raw, unfiltered, terrifying truths about what the living stumble into when walking among the dead. The cemetery, founded in the 1800s, sat at the far edge of an abandoned mining town. No lights, no gates, just thick woods, sinking graves, and the sense that someone always watched from behind the stones. I reached the entrance just before midnight. The moon was a thin sliver. The air smelled like damp soil and something metallic. And when I stepped inside, it wasn't just quiet, it was painfully still, like the world was holding its breath. I clicked on my recorder and whispered, "Coldwater Cemetery Field Session. Collecting 10 true encounters reported over the past 50 years." The moment I said it, I swear I heard a faint echo, not my words, but something mimicking the cadence. I brushed it off. Nerves. Just nerves. But the first encounter happened almost instantly. The caretaker, an elderly man named Rowan, told me about a woman in a black dress who walked the cemetery paths at exactly midnight. No footsteps. No face. Only the gentle sway of her dress and a hand clutching wilted flowers. He said she always appeared near the graves of children, humming a lullaby that had no clear melody. So I followed the path toward the old children's section. As I got closer, I heard it, the faintest humming, soft and bitterly sweet, drifting through the fog. Every part of me wanted to turn back, but I forced myself forward. And then I saw her. A shape. A silhouette. A long dress moving even though the breeze was still. I whispered, "Hello? Can you hear me?" The humming stopped. The figure didn't turn. Didn't move. But the flowers in her hand suddenly crumbled into dust and fell to the ground as if crushed by unseen fingers. Before I could react, she vanished, dissolving into the fog like she was never there. My heart hammered. That was encounter one. I tried to steady myself by focusing on the next story. Rowan had mentioned the running man, a figure seen sprinting between headstones, always gasping, always looking over his shoulder as though something chased him. Locals believed he was the spirit of a miner who died trying to escape a cave collapse. I walked toward the west side where the mining families were buried. The fog had thickened into drifting sheets. As I lifted my flashlight, something darted between two gravestones. My breath caught. A shape. Human-sized. Too fast. Then I heard the frantic breathing, raspy, desperate, almost collapsing into sobs. "Hey!" I shouted before I could stop myself. The breathing stopped. Then, suddenly, it erupted right behind me. I spun around, flashlight trembling in my hand. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But the damp soil behind me had fresh footprints. Deep, long. Like someone had been running for their life. Encounter 2. Every story I came for I didn't expect to actually live through. The third was whispered by a local teen. The crying tomb. A slab of gray stone that supposedly wept real tears. She said the liquid wasn't water, but something thick and salty, like blood mixed with sorrow. I located the tomb easily. It was the only one set apart, its marble cracked like veins. As I stepped closer, I noticed droplets sliding down its surface. My stomach twisted. They were dark, almost reddish-black. I reached out to touch one, and the stone beneath my finger pulsed. Not like rock. Like something alive. Something breathing. Then I heard it, a sob from inside the tomb. Low. Broken. Human. I stumbled back, so hard I almost fell over a sunken grave behind me. Encounter 3. I tried to keep going, convincing myself that everything had a rational explanation. But Coldwater Cemetery didn't follow the rules of the living. Encounter 4 was something the night guard had described. Lantern lights floating between the graves, as if the burial workers from centuries ago were still performing their grim duties. I saw them next. Flickering amber lights, drifting slowly along the far tree line. No bodies. No lanterns. Just lights gliding at waist height. I approached them cautiously, but each step I took, the lights moved away, never faster, always maintaining the distance. When I finally stopped following, they stopped too, hovering, watching. Then one by one, the lights blinked out, leaving only the crushing darkness. Encounter 4. My breathing was uneven. My pulse kept jumping. I reminded myself I needed 10 encounters. Just 10. Then I could leave. But the 5th one found me on its own. I had stopped near an angel statue covered in moss. Its stone eyes were blank, its wings chipped. But as I passed it, I got the overwhelming sensation of being observed. Not watched. Studied. I turned around. The statue's head was tilted. I froze. I had seen enough horror footage to know stone didn't move like that. Not without help. I looked away only for a second. And when I looked back, the angel's mouth had opened slightly, as if about to whisper something. A cold whisper brushed my ear. Stay. My legs moved before my brain did. I sprinted until my lungs burned. Encounter 5. The 6th story came from an old woman who lived by the cemetery. She said a little boy roamed the graves near dawn, asking visitors if they had seen his mother. I wasn't anywhere near dawn, but the fog shifted near a small wooden fence, and a tiny figure stood beside it. A boy. Maybe 7. Pale. Hair neatly combed. Clothes old-fashioned. He stared at me. Have you seen her? He asked in the softest voice. I shook my head, fear rising like bile. Seen who? My mother. I can't find her. He stepped forward, and that's when I saw it, his shadow. It wasn't a child's shadow. It was tall. Too tall. Thin. Inhumanly long. I backed away slowly. When I blinked, the boy was gone. But the tall shadow remained for one last heartbeat before melting into the fog. Encounter 6. I whispered into my recorder. I shouldn't be here. The 7th encounter was one I had only heard once, from Rowan himself, who refused to speak of it again. A woman buried alive in the late 1800s was said to still claw at her coffin, the scratching sounds echoing through the ground after midnight. I approached the oldest section, where the graves were cracked and uneven. The soil was soft in places, like something had disturbed it. I knelt beside a coffin-shaped mound, placed my hand on the ground, and scratch. My blood iced. Scratch. 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 From under the earth. I jerked my hand back. The ground trembled, a faint vibration, rhythmic, like fingernails raking the lid from inside. Encounter 7. I didn't want to hear the 8th one, but I did. A low moan drifted through the graveyard, long and tortured, rising until it turned into a strangled wail. The sound vibrated across the stones, like hundreds of voices layered into one. My flashlight flickered. The air grew colder. Then the wail cut off abruptly, and something moved behind me. A silhouette rose from behind a nearby grave. A tall, shrouded figure without features. I blinked, and it vanished like smoke. Encounter 8. By this point, my instincts screamed at me to leave. But I needed 10 encounters. Just 10. And strangely, Coldwater Cemetery seemed intent on giving them to me. The 9th encounter happened when I stopped to catch my breath. The fog parted, and I saw a group of people standing in the distance. Men and women in outdated clothes. Their heads bowed, hands clasped. A funeral, but no priest. No mourners crying. No sound at all. Then, synchronously, they raised their heads to look at me. Their eyes were hollow, their faces blurred. And then one step. All of them. Toward me. I ran until my throat felt raw. Encounter 9. When I reached the far side of the cemetery, near the rusted fence and dead trees, I collapsed to my knees. 10 encounters. I needed one more. Just one. But I was shaking too badly to stand, and the fog around me felt alive. Then the final encounter came, the one that wasn't supposed to exist, the one no one ever reported, because no one survived long enough to. A voice spoke behind me. You shouldn't have called them. I froze. Who's there? You said you wanted 10. The voice whispered, cold and heavy. They heard you. I turned slowly. A figure stood only a few feet away, wrapped in tattered burial cloth. Skin gray, eyes black like pits. A corpse, but aware. intelligent, listening. It stepped forward. Every grave around me throbbed, as if responding to its presence. The fog thickened, swirling around the figure like hands reaching out. "You walked among us," it said. "So now you belong among us." I stumbled backward, tripping over roots, crawling away in terror. But the figure didn't chase. It simply pointed toward the cemetery gate. A warning, a mercy, a chance. I didn't question it. I didn't look back. I ran until my legs nearly buckled, until I burst out of the cemetery and into the cold night air of the road beyond. When I reached my car, shaking uncontrollably, the recorder in my pocket clicked off on its own. 10 encounters. 10 too many. I never returned to Coldwater Cemetery, not even in daylight. Sometimes, though, when I play the recording back, I hear a soft humming at the very end. A woman's voice. The woman in the black dress. Still following me in her lullaby. Still remembering my name.